2 a.m. and she calls me 'cause I'm still awake. Can you help me unravel my latest mistake? Dropped a stitch about 17 rows behind me. There's no way I can pick it up from where I am. This is so frustrating. I feel I should just slam it down on the table and walk away madly. 'Cause my stitches don't count up and I missed a cable. This yarn's not the size that it says on the label. Now I can't find which repeat I am on. I think I should have a sit down and breathe. Just breathe.
Hello, and welcome to the 19th episode of the Sittin' and Knittin' podcast. I am your hostess, Diana. Today is Friday, June 14th, 2013, and I am coming to you from sunny Southwest Ohio. I thank you very much for taking the time to sit and knit with me, and so let's get started. You can find me as His Handmaid on Ravelry and on Flirt. I am also His Handmaid on Instagram, and I really enjoy Instagram. Right now, it is one of my favorite social media outlets. I just love seeing everybody's pictures. I really like that. So that's where I am mostly. I'm not really active on Flirt. I do check in with Ravelry, of course, several times a day. I'm also His Handmaid on Google Plus and His Handmaid one on Twitter. I don't usually tweet too much. Usually what you see on Twitter is something that I have shared on Instagram, and then I'll just kind of share it on Twitter too. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. That's my contact information. I want to start off this episode by thanking everyone who has left iTunes reviews. I had asked if you could remember to please post an iTunes review. I hadn't had any recent ones, and I'm coming up on my 1-year podiversary. I kind of go back and forth about the iTunes reviews because I don't really do a lot to advertise the podcast, but I think it's good to boost the ratings for someone who's looking for a laid-back knitting podcast, and so it'll come up easier for them to see. So thank you. Let's see. I had Renee Loves Use, Letitia B. Wing, and Ann MCG. They all left iTunes reviews, and I would like to thank you very much for that. I would also like to remind our viewers that this month, for the month of June, Jennifer of the Daisy Knits Etsy shop, and her Etsy shop can be found at daisyknits.etsy.com. I did finally find a card. She is giving Sittin' and Knittin' podcast viewers a coupon code for 20% off of your order. I think last podcast I said it was only 10%, and I was in error with that. I did post it in the Ravelry group, but I know everyone doesn't go to the Ravelry group, so I apologize for that. That's why I wanted to hurry up and get this episode up and let you know that you have 2 weeks to go over there. I would encourage you to go over there. I am knitting with a project with one of her yarns right now, her DK Nectar base, and I really love it. And just the customer service and everything, I can't speak more highly of this Etsy shop. And she was very kind. She said so far only one viewer has taken advantage of the coupon code. So if you are inclined, if you're shopping for yarn, you just want to support her, she has reasonable prices. I would say give her a shot. She has good quality yarn. So that is Daisy Knits, Daizie Knits, and that's daisyknits.etsy.com. I would like to remind you that we are having a Podiversary giveaway. I have been recording, I think it was 1 year on June 11th, so right around 1 year. Um, and in the Ravelry forum, we are having a giveaway where I will be gifting a project bag made by me to one of the winners. It'll be larger than a sock bag. It won't be a sweater size bag, but it'll be a small project bag, maybe big enough for a shawl or a small sweater. And so that will be one of the prizes. And then the other two prizes, other two that I'm going to draw for is for a giftable pattern off of Ravelry. I'm not really putting a price on it. I'd ask that you not choose an ebook. But so there's 3 chances to win. And what you need to do is you need to go into the Podiversary giveaway thread and either share with me um, if there's something about the podcast that you would like to see, or in some way that you would like to see me improve in something, um, I'm welcome and open to constructive criticism. The posts that have been given have been very, very kind, and I appreciate it very much. I really wasn't looking for that, but it is every kind word is much appreciated. Appreciated. So thank you so much for that. And you can either, if you have some constructive criticism or something that you would like to share, you can do that, and or just share with me what you're knitting. I'm always talking about what I'm knitting and working on, and I've loved seeing the project pictures that have been coming in that thread. So go over there and post in there. I have been taking the names, and I will do a drawing on the 1st of July. I am taking the names both from the Podiversary giveaway and also under episode 18. If you made a comment under the episode 18, I think it's called Happy Knitting. I'm taking the names too, because I think, some were making Podiversary comments there too. So I'm combining those two threads, and we will have that drawing on my first podcast of July, which I hope to podcast around July 1st. So I would encourage you to go. Also, I would like to remind you that I have a fiber giveaway in the podcast. I'm sorry, in the Ravelry forum. Last episode, I showed a couple of bundles of fiber that I had from Jacob's Reward Farm that I would like to share with you. So we've had, I think, about 3 or 4 entries. I must not have that many spinners that watch the the podcast. But if you're a spinner, or if you know of a spinner and you would like to enter for free fiber, just comment under the fiber share thread. I think it says fiber share or fiber giveaway, and tell me when and how you learned how to spin. And I will draw for that on the 1st of July too. So we have a lot of fun giveaways going on. I also wanted to say, if you're not on Ravelry, you can leave a comment on the blog, or you can email me and I will enter you in for either one of those giveaways if that's what you want. Because I know there are a couple who watch that don't really frequent Ravelry very much. My email address is knittingmother@gmail.com. And I think that's all for the administrative stuff. So we can get right into the knitting. Thank you for bearing with me for all of that. If I'm a little off today, it's been a very, very long week for me. I usually don't do a week in review, but I'll just share that last week I got a lot of knitting done, which you will see. But this week, I had a long day at work on Monday at one of my jobs, and then I had a teacher training Tuesday through Friday, which is today. Um, for I am a kindergarten teacher at a local Christian school, and so we had intense teacher training today or this week, and it went from 8 to 5, and there was an hour drive there and an hour drive back, and it required me getting up at 5:30 every morning. So I did finally get through the training. I graduated and I got my certificate and I passed, but it was hard and I'm tired, but it's the 14th and I really wanted to get an episode out to you all. So it shouldn't be too long. And I'm not apologizing for that. I know different ones say don't apologize for the length of the podcast, but that's where I am. So, out of my hands, and there was one thing that I did want to show you. Excuse me for reaching. I did a dishcloth, and I did it out of sugar and cream. I think it is just the sugar and cream cotton thread, and I don't remember the colorway. I was just trying justice. The girls have been doing a lot of dishcloths. I had shared a few episodes back that someone from my husband's job had commissioned me to do as many dishcloths as I could so she could sell them at the flea market and she would compensate us for that. And so I haven't gotten around to do them. And Justice was doing some, and I had tried the. We were looking for something a little different than the grandma's favorite dishcloth. We wanted a mindless, quick dishcloth, but the grandma's favorite was looking kind of. It never really looked square, and so we were just searching around for some other quick and easy dishcloths, and I found the reverse miter dishcloth by Ari Whitlow, and it's a free download. I don't believe you can download it through Ravelry though. I think it was on her blog, and I used the peaches and cream dishcloth cotton in the burgundy colorway, and this kind of looks like the grandma's dishcloth, except instead of having the yarn over holes around the edges, it has it in the middle. And so there it is. It's just a simple dishcloth. It still really didn't look square to me. I don't know if I was really kosher with the yarn over holes in the middle. So I just kind of threw it in my sink and I use it. And it works really, really well. That sugar and cream dishcloth is not joyful to knit with at all, but it is sturdy for like a good hard scrubbing dishcloth. So that was something out of my hands. I just knit that up real quick just to kind of help Justice along, and it may have taken, an hour and a half or so. But most of my knitting has that I've been doing is sock knitting, and I have spent the last week before the training. I just had work for a few days, and I spent hours on these socks. And I want to say, if I had spent all those hours I probably would have had a sweater done. So, there's the whole argument is it take as much time to knit socks as it does a sweater? I kind of want to say it does. To me, it does. My first sock is my toe up socks, and I knit these out of the Hiawassee Creek Dye Works yarn in the Willy Wonka colorway, and it is purple and brown. It's showing up more to me. It's showing up blue on the screen, but it's really a pretty purple. If you've ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is one of my favorite childhood movies, he had a purple suit, and this is kind of what it reminds me of, the purple in his suit, and then the brown reminds me of the chocolate. So I think that's where she got this from. I used my 1.25 or 2.25 millimeter needles. And this is Hiawassee Creek Dye Works Sassafras sock, which is an 80% merino, 20% nylon, and it is 4-ply. And I want to say I love, love, love this sock yarn. It is so tightly plied, I think. I'm not a spinner. It is super duper strong that I can hardly break it when I wanted to break my yarn. It just has beautiful stitch definition, and I love it. It's strong and I love it. I did, there's two socks here. I did a Fliego heel, and I worked really hard to try to get them to match. They're not, these socks were knit toe up. They're not as I wear like a size 10.5 woman's shoe. I had a problem with these socks. I don't know if I shared it with you all before. I'm not good with unwound yarn. And I think I was knitting with the ball of yarn, and I may have wanted to split it in two balls. I think that's what it was. So I got the grand idea to just wind it off while I had one sock in progress, wind it off from the other end. It didn't end up working. My ball got all tangled up. I had to cut and piece the yarn back together, and I think I did end up losing some of the yarn in the process. Um, I believe this is about 400 yards, and the cuff is only about 5 inches long. And I like my cuffs at the minimum 7 inches. And so these will be short socks, but that's okay. Let's see, from the start of the toe, it's 5.5 inches. What I did was, um, just to keep it interesting, I did plain stockinette on the purple, and then I ribbed the brown, and I did that all the way up until I got to the top, and then I did like one stripe of ribbing in the brown and one of the purple. I want to say that I have been knitting toe-up socks and top-down socks, and I think that top-down socks are my preference. I also was knitting this on double point needles, and I had that whole discussion with you about ladders and things like that. I went back to Magic Loop. It just seems like I was not getting my rhythm with the double point needles, and it was going very slow. And so I went back to the Magic Loop, and I just took my time. Thank you for all the suggestions I got. And I just took my time to make sure that I had the needles close together when I was starting the first two stitches on the new needle. It takes less time than it does to switch needles on double points to me. So I felt like I whizzed through these once I got them back on Magic Loop, and I enjoyed knitting them. But for me, the cuff is the longest part of the sock. I know some people knit their cuff and then they knit their heel and then they kind of fold it in half and they knit their foot as long as their cuff. But actually here is the length of this cuff and my foot is this long. For me, the cuff is the longest part of the sock. And so I feel like once the cuff is done, you get the heel done, the foot is the fastest. And so going from the toe up, I don't know, seems more labor intensive. Right now at this stage of my life this month, top down is what I prefer. But I haven't worn these yet. I did wash them and block them, and I wanted to show them to you. I'll be excited to wear them to work tomorrow now that you've seen them all flat and nice. And yeah, so those, I think that's all the information on those. My next project out of my hands is my Father's Day socks. And I think last podcast, and I wanted to remember, I can't remember where I was on the last time I showed these. Oh, another thing I want to say is I started these December 6th, 2012 and ended them January 6th, 2013. They had been in my purse for a long time. I think I had knit both of them up to here for quite a while and ended up ripping back and going forth and ripping back. So you all haven't seen these for a long time. 6 months. It doesn't take 6 months. I think I knit them in less than a week when I started working on them. So last time I showed you the one Father's Day sock. I made this out of Knit Picks Felici Sport sock yarn or Felici Sport yarn and the in the riverbed colorway. And I used 2.75 millimeter needles, which I believe is a US 2. And these are supposed to be self-striping, and I had the discussion with you yesterday about, or I'm not yesterday, last podcast about, the stripes not being in uniform, but they're all done. So these are for my husband for Father's Day. I hope he likes them. They're a surprise. I knit them mostly when he was not around, but I did knit on some when he was around. I don't think he really knew what they were, and he definitely didn't guess that they were for him. So they really feel soft and squishy. I don't think I'm in, I would not say, I have not knit a lot of stripy socks, so I wouldn't say I'm a real matchy person. But for some reason, I did really try hard to match these socks up. So these two match. I don't think I'll be like that all the time. They feel nice and squishy and soft and cozy. But so sometimes I was knitting on it and I thought, oh, this feels so nice. I want to knit it again. Then other times I pick them up and the yarn would feel kind of acrylic-y to me because it didn't have the spring that wool has. I believe it is a 75-25 wool blend, 75 wool, 25 nylon. But it still had a kind of acrylic-y feel to me. But I got to the end and I said, oh, I will use it again. I'll use it again. And then when I got to Kitchener-ing the bottom, the yarn was splitting so bad, I said, I'll never use this again. But then what do? They're having a clearance sale, and I go on the KnitPicks site and I put some of this clearance um, sport weight Felici in my cart. So we'll see if I go over there and hit the pay button. One thing I want to say is I love Ravelry because I got to right here and I ran out of yarn on the second sock. I think I was right here. So I just had this, and this to go. I had a whole bunch of this tan and I didn't have any more. I have purchased 3 balls of this yarn and I believe each ball is like 165 yards. I'm sorry, I don't have any of the tags. I think it's like 165 yards or maybe 185 yards. And so I purchased 3 balls. Well, one of the balls I shared with you was a mess and tangled. So I started on another ball. When I needed more yarn, I couldn't find that ball that was a mess and all tangled and I was going to call KnitPicks and tell them about. I don't know if in my frustration I accidentally threw it away or what, but I couldn't find it. So I went on Ravelry, went to the finished projects, found about 6 finished projects, and I contacted each person in a private message and said, do you have any yarn left over? I'm 2 stripes short because I just needed the blue, this dark brown and this light blue. I had enough of this. And I found a dear fellow knitter on Ravelry who, out of everybody that I contacted, out of 6, I think I got 2 replies that people did have some left. And so she sent it right away. She put it in the mail for me right away. I offered to pay the postage and she just asked me to pay it forward. And I appreciate that and will be doing that. And she sent me at least 3/4 of a ball. And so I was able to finish. And I finished these on Monday, like 10 o'clock at night before I was supposed to get up at 5 the next morning. I'm so happy I finished them because I wouldn't have had time to finish them this week. So these are my Father's Day socks. And I think that is all I wanted to say about those. That's all my finished objects. So we can talk about what's in my hands. What's in my hands, at last week or 2 weeks ago, I had 3 sweaters and 3 socks on the needle. I have since finished the 2 of the socks, but I have 1 more pair of socks. And that is, I really have not done anything to these socks, but I want to show them to you because I got them all ready to take to the training. I didn't really know what to expect from the training. I didn't realize it was going to be so intense and there was going to be so much lessons and paperwork that I need to do. So I thought I was going to have ample knitting time. So I'm knitting the Hermione's Everyday Socks, and I'm knitting this out of Lorna's Laces Multi. I can't think of the name of the colorway. Sorry, I didn't write it down. And I am using 1.25 millimeter needles. I'm knitting them top down. Well, the pattern is top down. And so I'm mid-row. So I got it all ready, which means I took it off the double-pointed needles and put it on magic loop needles. I have not touched these. I believe these have been on the needles at least 4 months. So this is where I am on one sock, and um, I was doing the same with the other two socks is something I wanted to say is I was doing two socks at a time on two different sets of needles. I don't want to do that anymore. I found out that I would rather do one sock at a time and then just use that as a pattern for the second sock. It seemed to go faster. Um, just to me, that's what I prefer. And usually when I do my socks, I haven't done very many socks, maybe 4 or 5 pair. I usually do them two at a time on two separate needles. But now I found out one at a time is fine with me. So I had knit this down to where I wanted to begin the heel. And then I started on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this one away. This would be the second stop, which all I have is the cuff and just like 5 or 6 pattern repeats of the pattern. And I am going to work on finishing the larger one. I debated after, after I said, okay, one at a time, which one am I going to do first? I just debated and said, I want to go ahead and do this, and I think I'm going to branch out and try a slip stitch partridge heel. So that's where I am on this one. This cuff is a little longer. I think it's close to 9 inches. So I'm hoping I have enough yarn. That's one thing about doing socks top down. It looks like I have enough yarn. I think I do. So we'll see how that goes. So I'll be doing the slip stitch partridge heel on that. So that's one of the things that is in my hands. The other thing that is in my hands, I have not touched the Mr. Green Jean sweater, which is one sweater I had thought in myself, aesthetically, I felt like picking up after doing those two socks a worsted weight project. And I wanted to do the Mr. Green jeans. And last time I showed you, I had just divided at the armholes, and I think I had knit down, and it was time to do the rib and cable pattern. And so that's going to take a couple hour of me doing it to see what the pattern is and everything else. So that was something I felt like I couldn't start while, I wasn't driving the hour back and forth to training. I was riding, but that was something I just didn't want to start in a vehicle with people around. So I didn't pick that up. So I haven't touched that since the last time you saw it. I have not touched my Abigail cardigan since the last time you saw it. So what I did was I picked up my calligraphy cardigan that I am knitting, and the pattern is by Hannah Feddick. I am using Daisy Knits, who is our sponsor, I think you would say, for this month. Daisy Knits yarn is her DK weight and her nectar base, which is 85% Polworth and 15% silk in the Thinking of Mel colorway. And I am wearing it. Now, don't panic because I have to knit, it does seem, I have to knit ribbed bands on either side of this. So this is not where it's going to stop right here. But I just thought it'd be fun to go ahead and show you. Last time I talked to you, I had stopped right before the armhole. Let me see if I can show you. I had a marker here because when I picked it up, I put a marker in here so that you could see. Okay, this is where I was last time I talked to you. So in the drive, this past week, which would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I would say about 6 hours of knitting. I've gotten this much done, which is about 6 inches because it's 8 inches now and I need to knit to 12 inches before I do the ribbing. And I have already done the waist shaping decreases and I'm starting on the increases. So I wanted to go ahead and see if I can show you. Is this where it is? It's where I am for now. The yarn is starting to stripe a little bit. I talked to you about not switching out the colors. excuse me. Let me see if I can take this off. I was not going to alternate skeins, is what I was trying to say. I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't feel with it. I was not going to alternate skeins. What I was going to do was just, instead of alternate, I had 2 skeins of yarn and balls of yarn that I skeined up. But the skeins were so big that I made them into 4. Instead of alternating one or the other, I just said I'll knit one ball from one skein, then another ball from the other skein, then back and forth. And that was all the alternating I wanted to do. Because I do a lot of traveling with my knitting, and I didn't want to have 2 balls of yarn and have to change every 2 rows and have all of the carry the yarn up or anything. So right there where the marker is about, I think, where I had to change into the second skein. So you can see up here, like for the collar and the top part, it's not as variegated with the the undyed shades of white as the top part. It does not bother me at all. That's just, it's beautiful yarn. Like I've said before, beautiful stitch definition and everything else. And so I just noticed, this is my first time knitting a garment out of hand dyed yarn, and I noticed that little change, and it's fine with me. I think that I will have enough yarn, to finish the body with this. And so I'm going to kind of, think to myself, what do I want to do the sleeves with? Do I want to do the sleeves with the skein where it seems like it's a little darker, or do I want to do the sleeves with the skein where it matches down here, and then probably pick up for the bands with the first one that seems a little darker. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I think I'm going to do the sleeves with the skein. That's the same as the bottom of this body here that does the striping. And then I'll pick up with the yarn that is the same, from the same skein as the collar. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do right now. I'm keeping my yarn in this little bag that was given to me. Someone got it as a free gift or something. And it's really nifty in keeping my yarn neat and keeping it from untangling. So, and what I like about this is having it here, I can easily throw my project down at a moment's notice and not have to worry about my yarn tangling. Oh, I dropped some stitches. I thought I would drop stitches on the excuse me. I thought I would drop stitches from the sleeves. I'll fix that in a little bit before I drop stitches from there. So that is what's in my hand. Aspirations. I'm still aspiring to knit the Color Affection shawl, but I told myself I have to have at least 1 sweater done. Sometimes I tell myself 2 sweaters, sometimes I tell myself 1, but at the minimum of 1 sweater done before I cast it on. So I call myself getting really close to being done to either the calligraphy or Mr. Green Jeans. So and I still really love the Abigail Cardi too. So after I get one of those sweaters done, I know I say it every week, I really want to knit a Color Affection, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out what color schemes I want. I know I want purples, but not sure from my stash what I'm going to use. I'm also going to knit the Anina Camino, and that pattern is by Juliana Lunn. And I showed it to you maybe 2 or 3 episodes back. I was starting it as a test knit, and it's lace and cables. It's doing it out of black yarn. It's a DK weight yarn, and it just was not coming together for me. End of the school year, I wasn't able to finish it. So I am going to pick it up. I already have yarn planned, and I can't wait to show it to you. It's yarn from Daisy Knit. And so that is what I'm aspiring to. We will talk about wow. I've had this for a couple of weeks and I forgot to tell you about it. But at the pipeline retreat at our round table, there was a sweet knitter. Her name is Knit Fantasy on Ravelry, and she's Valerie. And I think she is a photographer. I'm not sure. I think it's a hobby. She's a hobby photographer. She takes very good pictures, so it may be more than a hobby because now that I'm thinking of it, she may have said she was doing a wedding or something. But anyway, she took lots of pictures, and I got in the mail from her the spiral bound notebook with pictures, with lovely memories from the retreat. There's pictures of me with Bee Wing, and this is Green Eyed Girl, who is who I rode down with, and this, oh, I can't remember her Ravelry name now. Miss Claire. I was just gonna say Claire. Miss Claire, who's a very dear watcher, and pictures of Paula on their band, just memories. I thought it was really, really, really nice. Um, and I was really pleased to get it. It's a spiral bound notebook. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this notebook yet, but it says Knitting Pipeline Retreat, Washington, Illinois, 2013. So that is wow. I just really like that. Thank you for that. Also, another wow is one of my favorite podcasts. I don't know if I had spoken about it before, but it's Sock Bunny Knit and Fit, and it's hosted by Kimberly, who is Sock Bunny on Ravelry. And she had a fitness along. She has a fitness along going in her Ravelry group, where if you exercise for 30 minutes or more, if you walk 10,000 steps a day, you can enter that every day into her group, and at the end of the month, she'll draw for a prize. It's a very long story short. There's more details in her group. I would encourage you to watch her podcast. Kimberly has good imagination, and she's fun and upbeat, and she's a great knitter and dyer. And so one of her gifts, my name was drawn for the April Fitness Along, and she offers either a $5 giftable pattern on Ravelry, which is I love patterns on Ravelry, or a skein of sock yarn from her shop. In up to 3 colors dyed by her, or you could choose something in her shop. And I just thought that was so generous. It's a no-brainer to me. And so I ordered from Sock Bunny Studios. I ordered the MCN sock yarn. It's her Janie base, and it is 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. In the Would You Like Some Cheese with That Wine colorway. And that is a good representation right there of the color. I think it might be a slight bit darker than what you're seeing in person. I think right here, it's a good representation. Beautiful yarn. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about either using this in my color affection or using it for socks. I'm not sure if I want use cashmere yarn on my feet. If I have sock weight yarn that's cashmere, I want to maybe knit another garment out of it, a shawl or something like that. So I'm not sure. But this is wow. It's beautiful yarn. She has beautiful, vibrant colors in her shop, and I would encourage you to visit Sock Bunny Studios. And she is on Etsy, Sock Bunny Studios, sockbunnystudios.etsy.com. And so thank you very much, Kimberly, for that. And under aspirations, that was another thing I was going to say. I told myself I would only keep one pair of socks on the needles at a time. I have a super itch for more self-striping socks. Those socks were so fun. I have a couple of purchases in the works for some self-striping yarn, and I do want to make some more self-striping socks. Probably vanilla socks. So that's another thing I'm aspiring to. ASL Minute. A lot of you have asked for ASL Minute, and I wanted to go ahead and review some of the signs that um, I had shared with you early in the podcast because it's been a year. So, one of the ways that the deaf will greet each other, they don't always just say, a more formal way of saying hi or hi would be like this: hi, almost like a salute. Hi, hi. And then if you want to say, how are you? Because I seem like I say that every day, especially I work retail, so I'm always saying, hi, how are you? To say how, you put your fingers facing down, your thumbs are facing down too, and then you roll them up and out. How, how. So it's how you. They usually don't have conjunctions and I like are, but, and things like that. I mean, they do have but. They don't use them a lot in their grammar. So if you're speaking to a deaf or hard of hearing person, signing, you're not speaking. If you're using sign language to a deaf or hard of hearing person, their grammar would be, hi, how are you? Or in English, how are you? And then you could respond, I am good. So you put your hand to your chin and then you bring it down to your flat hand. That's good. Good. I'm good. There's a couple other signs that come from your chin. This one is thank you. If you put your hand on your chin and put it out, you're saying thank you. But if you put your hand on your chin and you put it down, you're saying good. So, hi, how are you? I'm good. And that's our ASL Minute. And I hope it helps you. I hope it's a refresher. I hope you remember. And we will go over more signs in later episodes. And thank you for asking for that. Sometimes I don't take the time to do it, and it only takes a minute. And I'm glad you enjoy it. The other thing that I have is what's on my iPod. My iPod. I have been listening. I listen to audio podcasts on the way to and from work. And one that I have, but I don't listen to very often, that I've caught up on back episodes of that I really like, is the Knit Circus podcast. And the hosts are Jala, I think that's how you pronounce her name. It's Jaala, Jala Spiro, and Amy Deaton. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Detjen. Jala Spiro is the editor of the bi-weekly online magazine called Knit Circus. I did a little research on it, and I'm not sure if it's a free magazine or not. I can't remember what I found. But she also has a site where she dyes gradient yarns. Not just gradient, but she does dye yarns. And she has some beautiful yarns. So I would encourage you to go to knitcircus.com and just check out what she has. And I'm sorry, that's the one thing about audio podcasts. You don't have time to write things down because you're usually listening to them on the go, walking or driving or something. I don't have their Ravelry names. Amy Deaton has a Craftsy class. It's custom yoke sweater. And she sounds like a very knowledgeable teacher. She's a little older. Jala is a little younger. They have a good rapport. Their podcast is maybe 30 to 40 minutes long, and they just sit down and chat with each other. As a matter of fact, I think most of the podcast, maybe the first 10 minutes, are them just visiting. And it's just like we're in on their conversation, because they don't just start off, well, what are you knitting and this and that, but they visit with each other. And in the process of them catching up with each other and being friends and being friendly, they talk about their knitting. And then they talk about maybe other things that they have on their mind. And I don't know, I just really enjoy it. They're both experienced knitters and they're funny and they are a podcast that I would encourage you to watch. So, I think the girls have something they want to share with you. We have not had Justice's Court or Journey's Journey in a long time. Court of Justice, I'm sorry. And so we will have that for you. But if I don't come back, I want to thank you very much for watching the podcast. Thank you very much for joining me. I was trying to think of what I wanted to talk about in Knitting Circle. The only thing I can, and I've talked about this before, but I guess I can kind of share it with you all. I had the frustrating comment today, or this week. Your knitting is really pretty. I couldn't knit. I don't feel like I'm grandma enough to knit. Now, this woman who said this to me is older than me. She said she didn't feel like she was grandma enough to knit, even though she's a grandmother and I'm not. And then her next comment to me was that she didn't have time to knit. So, I just told her I use all my spare time. I said it's better than sitting and twiddling your fingers or something. But that's just kind of like a very annoying thing, for someone to say. So, if you would like to share under episode 19 podcast thread of any foolish comments that you've gotten about knitting in public and how you handled that, I would appreciate that. I did want to share too. I meant to tweet it or post it and I didn't. But last week, I think last week was Knit in Public Week. I know last Saturday, which would be the 15th minus, I think it was like the 8th, was Knit in Public Day. And I did knit in public. I went to an interview, and actually it was like a group interview where we would stand in line and get the application and fill out the application. So after I had filled out my application and while I was standing in line waiting for the next portion of the interview, I was knitting. I was standing outside too. So I was knitting, not really realizing that early Saturday morning, so 8 o'clock in the morning, it was Knit in Public Day. There was also, usually I go to my van during my lunch breaks, and because of the rain, I stayed in the break room, and so I was knitting in the break room. So I had a lot of spectators that way, and it seemed like I had another instance of knitting in public. I have been knitting in public this week during the training. I don't consider knitting in public in the van back and forth, but I did knit at Frisch's at a restaurant. I knit at Frisch's Big Boy, and I knit in the training too, and I got a couple of really nice comments from there. So I did do my part for knitting in public. But if you want to share a knitting in public story, I would love to hear it. And if you want to share, or vent about maybe a rude comment you received and how you handled it, I'd love to hear that too. I see the sunlight is bothering us. I think I must podcast around the same time every day, and so I apologize for that light. Thank you so much for joining me. Please don't forget to support Daisy Knits. Please don't forget to enter into the giveaway. And if you have any questions, you can contact me on Ravelry, and I will see you, Lord willing, in 2 weeks around the 1st of July. Thank you and take care.
Hello, podcasting world, and welcome to Journey's part of the podcast. I'm your host, Journey. So for this week, I will start off with FOs. This is my first FO, and it's made out of I Love This Cotton. And I really like this. It's just a simple disc off. I got some 24 stitches and just knit and stockinette stitch. So that's my first and last FO. The next thing I'm working on is still out of I Love This Cotton. And I am knitting this out of I Love This Cotton. I don't have the label, so I don't know all that important stuff that you want to know. But I do know It's just a pattern I'm making up, and it has bridges. I've taken this out like 5 times, but it still has the bridges. So, oh well, with the bridges. So, yes, that's that. The next thing I am working on is this. I'm making this into a pillow for my dad for Father's Day, which is in 2 days. I am very slow. I started this 2 weeks ago while I was at one of my friend's house for a sleepover, but I did not do a lot of it. So, here's this. There's a lot of things going on it. I started a pattern, then I quit it, and then I started another one. But, so I don't have any cotton to stuff it yet, but my mom said, if I get it halfway done, about right here, by tomorrow, she will, while she's at work, she will buy me some cotton. So I have a lot of work to do after I finish podcasting. But, oh well. The next thing I'm working on is a crochet project for my mom. For, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, for her bed. And I want to get this finished by August. It is really long. I wish I could see if I can show you. See, it's really, it's long as me. And I am 5 feet tall. 5'4". And they say, as long as your arm span is, that's how tall you are. So this is 5'4" long. And I laid it over her bed and it hangs over. And she has a queen size bed. So this is long, fun to work with, and I just do this in my spare time when I'm not knitting on something else. And I'm making it out of purple. She got this from a really old friend, and she just gave us a whole bunch of yarn, so it doesn't have any label or anything. But all I know is that I think it's red heart. I'm pretty sure. And this white is also red heart, and I am going to add in white, so it's gonna be white and purple. Fun! I know. The next thing I'm working on is a flounce scarf. Again, I love making flounce scarves. I just adore making them. But after I finish this one, I'm going to start one after white, and then like right here, it's going to be gold. So yeah, see this layer? And then this end right here is going to be gold, and I'm making that for me. But I'm making this for my mom. Well, I was going to make it like for my best friend's mom, but then I decided to make it for my mom because my birthday is on the 20th. You know you usually get presents for your birthday. Well, for this year, I'm going to give my mom a present for my birthday. So, I am making a scarf for her for my birthday. Sounds fun to say. I'm making a scarf for my mom for my birthday. But yeah, so here it is. And it is out of Red Heart Boutique Sashi Sequences. And it's 74% acrylic and 26% polyester. And here's the thing. And I got this from, where did I get it from? Oh, I can't remember. Still can't remember that one store. Joann's. I got it from Joann's when me and my mom went shopping for yarn. So that's that. Did I say? Oh yeah. And so there's that. And then a thing that I'm aspiring to do. I'm aspiring to knit my hope for convention this year with the little jewels. My mom made it. It's pink. She said she will help me, so I can't wait to do that. After I get this and the dishcloth off the needle, I will start that. Then I'm inspired to knit a pair of socks out of bamboo and yew. I started this last time for convention and I didn't finish it. I know. But yeah, so thank you for watching Sternest Journey part of the podcast. And I hopefully will see you next time with more finished objects, more work done, and especially more work done on that shawl. It's like, ah! But yes, so thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great week while I have to go and knit half of a pillow to stuff with cotton. So, thank you for watching. Bye! Hello everyone, and welcome back to Court of Justice. I'm your host, Justice, and I will be hosting this part of the podcast. So, let's start off with finished objects. I have been making lots of dishcloths over the past 2 weeks for a friend that goes to work with my dad. And I finished I think I finished 9 of them. Here's one of them. It's just a simple knit dishcloth, but I made it out of, I love this cotton, and this is one of my favorites because I like the pattern in it, and it is very soft yarn. I believe that it is made from polyester yarn, but I'm not quite sure. And this one came out way too big. It was going to be the I was using Granny's favorite dishcloth pattern, but I made it way too big. So I like this one a lot because it is so big. So they'll probably use it as a dish towel. And so I have a lot of them. This one was going to be also the Granny favorite. So I really don't like this pattern a lot, but it's I don't like the way the dishcloths come out, but it's really enjoyable to work with. And so that's it. I will not pull all of them out of the bag. So that's it. I've just been working on dishcloths over the past few weeks. Oh, and I started something new not too long ago. Hada's knitter encouraged me to start knitting scrubbies. So we went shopping at Joann's and got some of the tulle to knit with. And it is very, I wouldn't say it was exactly fun to knit with, but I do enjoy it, and I can't wait to see what it looks like when I'm done with it. And so this is still a work in progress. I'm not quite sure I'll do another one after I finish this because I'm not sure. I just don't really like it. And this is another work in progress. That's another dishcloth I started a little while ago. Well, when my mom started her podcast, I started to knit on this. And it's Granny's favorite dishcloth pattern. And yeah, so this is Granny's favorite dishcloth pattern. Dishcloth. And I'm hoping to finish like 2 of these tonight, so I can give them to my dad so he can take them to his friend tomorrow. And that is it for my knitting. That's all I've been working on. I haven't really been doing anything else except for knitting on those dishcloths. So I'm really excited about the scrubby almost being back. And that is it for me. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.
Whoa, breathe, just breathe. They say do a gauge swatch, but I think that they're dumb. Now my choice has come back to bite me in the